Happy Thanksgiving, ancient Southwesterners. I'm Angeline. I'm going to jump right into this exciting topic of migrating to America. That's what Thanksgiving is all about. People migrated to North America and survived, and this Thanksgiving Day is the day to celebrate that resilience. And so, what a great time, perfect time to talk about people migrating to the Americas and staying and resilience. Who were the people that became native to all of the Americas? And when and how did they become mixed with different people? There's been the long time idea that people migrated over the Bering Land Bridge, and all Native Americans share that blood. There's been a more recent hypothesis that people came from Polynesia, and Native Americans have that ancient blood. DNA is an area of science that has reached a level where we can answer some of these questions definitively. I hesitate to say definitively because science is always changing, but right now it's definitive. So let's talk about who are the Native Americans, where do they come from, and how do people come from both the North and the South at the same time? So we'll get right into it. What we're going to use as the source for this information are two amazing scientific studies. One is called the Genomic Evidence for the Pleistocene and Recent Population History of Native Americans. Yes, that's a mouthful. Say that 5 times fast. And it's by a person named Raghavan Manasa. All right, and I am going to do something that I've never done before, which is share my screen with you so that you can see some really cool things while I talk about some really cool things. All right, I know you can see a map right now. I'm just going to kind of go up and show you what the name of this article is. So that if you want to go and find it yourself, and you can download it and read it, you'll be fascinated. It's just amazing. So I'm going to take you to a cool graphic and tell you the story that Manasa has to say about Native American origin. Now, so 30,000 years ago, people lived in eastern Siberia. And about 30,000 BCE, okay, that's before our year zero, people lived in eastern Siberia. And about 22 to 19,000 BCE, they traveled from the Yana River area of Siberia over the Bering Land Bridge and into the North American continent. So for about 8,000 years, these people were isolated from about 19,000 BCE to 11,000 BCE. Those people from the Yana River of Siberia were isolated and developed their own gene pool that was unique from every place else on Earth. Now, there's not 100% certainty if they were isolated there in the Bering Straits area, the Aleutian Islands area, or if they were actually isolated in that Yana River area. That is not totally clear, but they were definitely isolated for about 8,000 years. Okay, the numbers just blow my mind. So then, according to the DNA trails, and that's what we're talking about today. We're not talking about archaeology. This is not about archaeology. So if you've heard anything different, dating of artifacts or something that conflict with this information, that's not what we're talking about today. We're just talking about the DNA, okay? So today we're following the DNA trail as if nothing else exists. Okay, so now hear this. Like I said, somewhere between 19,000 and 11,000 years. The number isn't, of course, specifically datable, but that's the hypothesis. That's the gene pool that became what would be all inhabitants of America, because by 12,600 years BCE, those people had migrated all the way from the top, Bering Straits area, all the way down to the southern tip of Chile. They had populated 2 continents worth of land on Earth. That small group of people. That's mind-boggling that they did it in such a short amount of time. So there's people, so in your mind, imagine there's people still living up there in the northern area, right? In the Bering Straits area. And then, you know, some of their people left, some of them stayed, and at around 10,000 BCE, let's see, around 11,000 BCE, the Athabascans, that is the people that are now the Diné, the Navajo, they split from the people who became the rest of the population of the Americas. Does that make sense? So imagine you have a gene pool, we'll call it a community, up there by the Bering Land Bridge. And then at around 11,000 BCE, some people went north and east. I don't know which direction you can see me pointing. My camera turns me backwards or what. And some people went south. Okay, so the people who stayed up north, they became the Athabascans. That's now the Diné, or another word for it is Navajo. You probably hear them that way more often. The people call themselves Diné. The rest of the people became what we call the Amerindians. And those are the people who spread all over North and South America by, let's say, 10,000 BCE. 2 continents were covered with Amerindians. An interesting note is that around 11,000 BCE, now we're talking archaeology, okay? Archaeology dating is tricky, but they say by 11,000 BCE, Clovis points were found in New Mexico, but there weren't Clovis points down in Chile. By like 10,500 BCE, there were not Clovis points down in Chile. Now, make of that what you will, okay? But that's it's just an interesting kind of timescape when you think about people moving across the land, right? That means that, well, I'm not going to say what it means. I already said what that means. Okay, so what more did I want to say about that? Anything? No, you see this map. Now I'm going to move on to something more cool. Now we know who the Amerindians are. That's the first wave, okay? Now, a lot of people talk about Polynesians becoming Native Americans. Well, how do we know that? What's evidence? Now we have some DNA evidence and we understand where it fits in the timeline. Okay, so we're going to look at another really cool study that is it's sort of funny. It's a weird little, thing that actually shows us some really cool things. And that is, it's called Examining Dispersal Mechanisms for the Translocation of Chicken from Polynesia to South America. Chickens. Chicken DNA is telling us about the genome of Native Americans in now throughout the Americas. And this is by Fitzpatrick and Callahan. Now, what this study is about is they found chicken DNA, chickens, and down in Chile, and they were able to match the DNA of the chickens with DNA from chickens in Polynesia. And so what they've done is they did a study of boat travel. They did it's a computer simulation of boat travel, canoes and sailing vessels. They did a computer simulation of those vessels trying to travel from Polynesia to the southern tip of Chile. That was the intended, two destination points. Okay, so when I say Polynesia, I mean Samoa, Tonga, Niue, Niue, I think is how you say it, Easter Island, Tuamotus, I'm saying that right, and Hawaii. And here are some really cool photos of what they found. Are you ready? Okay, now what they're trying to do is they've run computer simulations of Polynesians making it to South America and Chile by, in the years, between the years 1300 and 1400, 1420, current era. Okay, so that's not that long ago. That's a few hundred years ago. I will explain how to connect that huge time span, because we were just talking about 10,000 BCE and now we're talking about a few hundred years ago. Okay, this is just to show that how boats can make it across the sea, but we'll talk about ancient prehistory and how, where that falls in what I'm about to tell you after this. Okay, so hang tight. So what they realize is between 1300 and 1420 BCE, people who traveled from Samoa, who were aiming for the southern tip of Chile, that's the Arauco Peninsula. So I have some notes written here. So the people that traveled there, 26% of them made it to somewhere on the, 26% made it to Chile, but most of them made it up there to the north near Peru. And as you can see on the map here, we've got all along that western coast of South America. That was in January. They traveled in January. 26% made it down to the Arauco Peninsula, but the rest of them made it to more northerly in South America. And 40% of them made it all the way to the Arauco Peninsula in March. So in January and March, those were good times to travel. And as you can see, they made it. They made it all the way over to the Americas. So that's from Samoa. When they came from Tonga, when they aimed from Tonga to go to the Arauco Peninsula, 40% made it in January and 40% made it in February. And as you can see, the rest of them made it all over the coast there to South America, not to Chile, but more northerly. Now, the reason that this Chile thing is the issue is because the chickens were found in Chile. But what the authors of this study say is that probably there are older there are chickens found in northern South America that we just haven't found yet. The ones they found were in Chile. So they're saying, let's try to get to Chile with chickens from Polynesia, but probably that Chile isn't the first place chickens came from. They probably came, Polynesian chickens probably came from further north, because that looks like where everybody's landing. Okay, so where are we in now? We're Tonga. So then we try to come from Easter Island. 100% of people who aimed for the Arauco Peninsula in May and in August made it. All right. 100% made it in September. And in fact, they could make it from the Easter Island all the way to the peninsula there in Chile, all year except June. June was variable, so something probably was happening in the weather in June, which made it pretty difficult. So that is fascinating to me. Easter Island, and it's obviously closer, but the currents are very favorable for that. All right, let's see here. Oh, come on. I think my trackpad is dirty from me eating too many Cheetos while I work at my computer. Okay, then what do we have here? Oh yeah, there we go. I just said that. That's Easter Island in May and August. Move away, you little menu thing. All right, good. Now who do we have? Oh, Niue. Come on, come on, come on. Grow. Please grow. Thank you. Yeah. All right, now those folks, if they tried to go down there to Chile in January, 20% of them, or 21% of them made it. As you can see, there was some issues. There's a lot of squiggly lines going on around there from Niue. They don't look like they had a whole lot of success, but they did make it up. A fair number of them made it up there to, again, the South America, what is that? How do you pronounce that? Gulf of Guayaquil, Gulf of Guayaquil, up there on the western coast of South America. Uh-oh, did I stop sharing? I stopped sharing. Oh no, I'm a sharer. Let's share. Oh good, we're sharing again. Okay, I like sharing. So, let's get this opened up. Now we're gonna try to come from Tuamatu. God, I'm the worst at pronouncing native words. Tuamatu. And when you do that, we get to down there in Chile, 15% make it in January, 20% make it in December, and everybody else gets north again. Everybody's landing north. Everybody. Got a couple more here. I wish I would have grown these before I started this. This is such a waste of time. Now we've got trying to come from Hawaii. Hawaii is a whole different kettle of fish, right? Now Hawaii, they don't go to Chile. Hawaii, it doesn't work to go to Chile. All right, so where they go is to Mexico and Central California, and a very high rate of them make it in September. They go straight from Hawaii, straight over to Central America. Right there, you can see the Yucatan Peninsula sticking up on the upper right, and then the opposite side there, Mexico, the west coast of Mexico and Central. Did I say Central California? Central America is what I was trying to say. Central America. Hawaii, people sailing from Hawaii make it to Central America. Now, they looked at what they did was they studied the return, like how do people get back? Can people get back from the Americas once they get there? Let's check. All right, this is what happens when you try to sail either a canoe or a sailing vessel. Hello. Row, 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 row. Oh my God. Okay, so what happens is, wah, wah, can't do it. They gave themselves a 200-day period for these simulated vessels to sail from Chile down there. And they couldn't get back over to Polynesia directly. Everybody got pushed north along the coast of South America. Okay, so if you're trying to leave, if you got over there to Chile, for example, it was very difficult to go directly back. And so what they found is that if they left from Ecuador, let's see, I have that here. Where am I at 9? Yeah. Okay, so they tried leaving specifically from Ecuador. If somebody from the other coast tried to sail, and now here's an interesting thing, whether or not you knew the route, okay? You could set sail from Ecuador knowing the route or not knowing the route back to Polynesia. Here's what the result would be. 6% would land on Easter Island. 56% would land in Eastern Polynesia. And you can see the map. They had a good rate of success getting back to Polynesia from Ecuador specifically. And that's really fascinating. Now we all know that Polynesians navigate by the stars. They have what's called stick maps and other kind of maps, I presume, but I'm just stick maps, for example. They're kind of this weird crisscrossy pattern like that of sticks with little stones or shells dotted on them. And my understanding is those are like meant to be used like sky maps, I think. I mean, they could be maps of islands. I don't know how that would help you when you're sailing, though. It seems like it would make more sense if you're looking at the sky with these maps. But anyway, stick maps, look it up. And so they were able to sail, accurately, very accurately using the sky. And I think that's what we're looking at here. So what is this? What's my last little one I wanted to show you here? Oh yeah, no, that's the article that's the article where these images are from. All right, now, why do we care about something as late as 1300 Common Era? Because it shows that that was an era of time which we would consider, low tech. We're talking about canoes and sailing vessels, but that of the, very ancient variety, not motorized, obviously. And people could reach the Americas that way. Now, if they could do it that way, that means they'd probably been doing it that way for a very long time, because we look at the Olmec. The Olmec were this new arrival into, the Central American, the Yucatan area. They arrived around 2000 BCE, about 4,000 years ago, and became the biggest civilization in America. Now, the word civilization, that's kind of a problematic word. It implies a lot of things about what is a civilization and what's not a civilization. But what we know about them is they made pyramids in the middle of their cities. They, they're the mother culture of all of Mesoamerica, that came after. The Maya learned from the Olmec. The Olmec came in, and there was no precursor to the Olmec. There's no archaeological evidence of natives working their way up to this new way of life. The Olmec just arrived, boom, fully formed on the land, and started doing what they do. Okay, and what they did was they brought the ball game. This big ball, it's this huge ball court. You have to try to get this rubber ball into these hoops that are on either side of the field, like, I don't know, imagine a soccer field. And you have to do that using only your head. I'm not sure, I can't remember if you can use other body parts, but think of it like soccer, right? What's so popular all over, the Americas? The most popular game is soccer, football. And it's my kind of opinion, because it's so obvious, that this is an evolution of that game. You take a rubber ball, you hit it with only your head and torso. You cannot use your feet. You cannot use your hands, and get it into the hoop. In the case of soccer or football, you get it into the goal. So the Olmec brought that game. They brought, like I said, pyramids built in the city centers. They had writing. They had glyph writing. They had gods of fire, corn, jaguar, which was a god of rain, probably because it's spotted, and and others. What else did they bring? Oh, here's a really important part about the Olmec. They were traders, not warriors. So, like the Vikings were traders. They didn't. The Vikings, for example, didn't really have industry as such. They kind of relied on sailing around and getting things from other lands in various ways. And so that's like the Olmec came across the sea as traders. They didn't come to conquer, they came to trade. Now, if we're looking at this idea that once you got here, you couldn't go back, that would explain how the culture the Olmec culture came to the Americas and then just stayed. I'm just supposing, hypothesizing, that reason why they ended up here. And So the Olmec, like the high culture of the Olmec lasted from about 1300 BCE to 400 BCE, and then from that point forward, the Maya started to develop. And so so imagine you've got this Polynesian culture that comes, plops down in the Americas amongst the Amerindians, okay, the Maya, what we call the Maya now, they were Amerindians, those original people from the top, and then you've got the Olmec, and who else? I mean, who knows how many other people were coming over from Polynesia and staying, right? But we just can use the Olmec as an example because we know they were there. There's tons of evidence for them, and we know who they were, and we know how big of an influence they had on culture in the Americas. But anyway, so just we're using them for an example, but I mean, people from Polynesia could have this whole time been meeting up with people, with the Amerindians, and putting their DNA into the American genome. Is genome the right word? Biological anthropology is hard for me because the math makes my brain hurt. So I have to read it and read it and read it, and then I'm able to like distill it down for a video like this for you. But I'm doing my best. But it's like the numbers kind of make my mind boggle. So all right, let's get back to it. What was the timeline again? So we've got the Olmec Empire from 1300 BCE to 400 BCE. We've got the Mayan Empire from 400 BCE to 900 CE. That's 80. Now we call it CE. Okay, and then during the period, which is 150 to 650 AD, or Common Era, that's when we have a lot of these other cultures had also come up with the Maya, influenced by the Maya. We've got, less high-tech societies being influenced by the Maya, and then all these other groups popping up. Like I said, Maya, Toltec, Huastec, Aztec. I'm gonna stop with that. That's where I'm going to leave it. But I just thought it was a really interesting way to look at history, not through archaeology, but through DNA, because archaeology dating is highly debatable, and it's always being debated. And we're never really 100% sure you can date correctly using carbon dating, right? But DNA is far more reliable. And this is the story the DNA now tells us. And I think it's wonderful because we can go from there and understand who are Native American people. What were the timelines and, the influences, and how did it happen that people got here? Now you know. I hope you enjoyed this. I know it was a little long, but I just find it endlessly interesting. And as I learn other little, I have notebooks full of timelines that I'm constantly rewriting and collating as I get new information. And, some of my timelines have little insert points for when different languages start, or when different, mummies are found, or when different, cities, are popped up, so there's all kinds of things we can talk about as far as timelines, but the DNA timeline is firm. For now, this is the current science as of today. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I hope you like that. I hope you have a happy Thanksgiving. Hope this brought you a little bit of entertainment and enlightenment. May the fire inside you continue to burn brightly.